Welcome to Lesson 4 in the series of lessons in support of the textbook How to Program Effectively in Delphi for AS A-Level Computer Science, which will be available from the end of August 2021 in print form and is currently available as a PDF in early access form from Educational Computing Services Limited. Lesson 4 is our introduction to creating a Windows VCL application and exploring how the state of the application is saved in a DFM file. Let's get started. So we select File, New VCL Application. And we get a form appearing in which we can place components as and when we desire. We can inspect the properties of the form in the Object Inspector, and we can change the caption on the form directly in the Object Inspector. We'll change it to Form 1. This is the caption property. We can resize the form and notice that the client height and the client width have changed, as well as the height and the width. We're going to change the name of the form. This is the form reference variable, Form 1, that we're changing the name of. Changing the width, we notice there's a width property. Changing the height, there's a height property. We can toggle to see the unit behind the form, and as before we have a class, user-defined class tform1 based on tform. We'll save the project. In a new folder, console form 3, VCL app. And we'll save the unit in file VCL app unit.pas. And the project source or project in VCL app. To view the project source, this is the program file. We'll notice that it's similar to the one that we explored in Lesson 3. There's an application object, there's a method on the application initialize, there's an application create form which will create the form based on the class tform1 and assign the address of the area of memory belonging to the object created to the reference variable form1. Now if we explore the DFM that's associated with this project. We'll see it has the name VCL app unit.dfm. And if we open this up in Notepad, we'll see something similar to the exercise that we conducted in Lesson 3. The properties of the form are bracketed between object and end. So if we compile and run the project, we get a form. We're going to add a button to the form. And if we go to Notepad, we find that the DFM form has changed, so we reload it and we see that the object description of button 1 has been added to the DFM. If we double click on the button to create an event handler, button 1 click, and add the show message hello world. Show message is available from the VCL.dialogues library unit. We save it, and then if we look at Notepad, you see it's changed again. So we reload it. This shows we have an on-click event property which is being assigned the value button 1 click. And if we click button 1 when the project is running, we get the hello world message box. Now if we add the directive app type console, save and run again, and now we have both a GUI form and a console window. We can write to the console window with WriteLine. Now if we save and run, now the console window has the message hello world. Button 1 and clicked creates the show message hello world message. Now if we control return on VCL forms, we can open up VCL.forms library, Delphi supply library, and if we search, that's Control F to bring up the search box for application. See, eventually we'll get down to the definition, the class definition for T application, and then the application object, which is of type T application. Let's add a WriteLine after the application.run to show that application.run creates the form and the main program pauses at this point and doesn't access the write line after application.run, press enter key to exit until we close the form or GUI window. So if we run the application and we get the GUI and we get the console window, but we've yet to access the second write line, which comes after application.run. If we close the GUI window, without reach the write line, press enter key to exit, and then if we press the enter key, we will close the application. Next, we'll have a look at the contents of the VCL.forms file, and we press Control Enter to open it up, and I press Control F to bring up the search box, and we'll type run into the search box, and we'll locate procedure run, which is defined in T application, and then we will have a look at the body of T application.run. And you'll notice that it gets stuck in a repeat until loop until the application is terminated by clicking on the form's close icon, and it's constantly trying to handle messages. We're now looking at the event handling side of Delphi, which is basically handling messages from the operating system. We're now going to switch to a different application, which is going to explore the underlying Windows messages which arise in the operating system in response to a user event such as clicking a mouse or resizing a window. And this application will expose the Windows messages which are sent to the Delphi application by the operating system, and will display some of the messages in the console window, so we can get a better understanding of how Delphi handles events and basically does event handling programming based on top of the object oriented programming, which is at the heart of the VCL application. So we're going to create a form object which is going to be referenced with form 1, and we're going to set the application into its message loop, and the application will stay in that message loop until the terminate icon is clicked, and then the write line press enter key to exit will be accessed, and then we can close the application, both the GUI and the console window. So if we have a look at the unit for this project, the form 1 object contains a component called application events 1. T application event is available from the additional tab, so if we just type application, we can pick up T application events, and if we were to click on this and click on the form, we would create another one. But I don't want a second application event object, so I'm going to delete that. But I'm going to look at the application events 1, and I'm going to look at the event handler, which has been set up on receipt of a message, and we're going to process the messages, and we're going to pick out a window move, a window close, although we won't actually see that because the window will switch to the console window. We'll pick up a paint message which tells the window it's got to repaint itself because part of it has been covered up by the mouse cursor, or it's been resized. We're also going to pick up when the left mouse button is clicked. We're going to actually identify if the mouse cursor was over button 1 when the left mouse button was clicked. And this is a little bit complicated, but the position of the mouse cursor will be relative to the edge of the button 1 control, and we've got to translate it first of all so that it's relative to the edge of the form, and then to the edge of the screen. That's the left edge and the top edge. And we use a built-in procedure called client to screen. Once we have a reference to the form of the position of the button, or rather the mouse cursor, when the mouse left button was clicked, we can convert it to relative to the screen. And we get a number back called a handle. Windows identifies Windows by a number called a handle, a Windows handle, and then we're going to see if that number is the same as the Windows handle for button 1. If it is, we can do two things. We can write to the console application that button 1 is clicked, and we can change its caption. To clicked. Now we can also check to see if a key on the keyboard has been pressed, because the Windows message WM key down will be sent to the Delphi program. We don't want this event handler to handle the event. We're just reporting on the event. We want it to be handled in the proper way by the Delphi runtime system. So we say handle becomes equal to false. So let's run the application, and we get our form and we get our console window, and when we move the mouse cursor onto the form, it's got to be repainted because the shape of the cursor's got to appear at that shown position. So the operating system sends our application the message to cause the window to be repainted, and we're just reporting on it. If we click the button, you'll see that its caption is changed to clicked, because we've intercepted the message and worked out which window, because every control is a window in Windows operating system, and we've also reported that the mouse left was down and the mouse button was clicked. And again, of course, because we're moving things around on the form, it's got to be repainted. If we press a key on the keyboard, the operating system reports key down and we display it on the console window. If we resize the form, we get a Windows repaint message. Okay, finally, we click on the terminate icon to return to the console mode. Press enter key to exit is outputted, and we press the enter key to close the application. We've now come to the end of lesson 4, and a couple of things just to remind you of. In the VCL application, the state of the form, its object state, is recorded in a DFM file, so that if the application is closed and then reopened, the state of the form will be restored. And then the Delphi VCL application is designed to respond to events from the operating system, such as a mouse click or a resize of the window. So we say that Delphi supports object-oriented programming, and it also supports event-driven programming. Thanks for listening. Next up, Lesson 5, Identifying and Counting Components on a Form.